This is the story of Harold Mooney's electric tadpole. When Harold had to surrender his driver's license due to ill health, he decided to do something radical. The action-bent tadpole is a great handling recumbent, able to cope with our country roads. One was purchased for a good price from Ian at flyingfurniture.com.au. In Australia, maximum power for an unlicensed electric bike is only 200 watts. At the time, 200-watt kits were difficult to locate and were way overpriced. But thanks to Colin at electricbikesoz.com.au, Harold was able to purchase an entire electric bicycle for a good price. The back wheel and motor assembly was transferred to the tadpole. The motor controller was mounted in a weatherproof box under the seat. The throttle and brake sensors were easily transferred to the tadpole and connected back to the controller. To make the tadpole more practical for use on the road, we needed lights and indicators. Rather than tap into the electronic control system, we mounted a heavy-duty micro switch on the disc brake caliper. That's nice and simple and reliable and works every time. After trying a few different lighting systems, Harold finally settled for a set of high-quality LED lights, because these are far more visible and don't draw nearly as much power. LED indicators need a special flasher unit. The old-fashioned ones from the car wreckers just don't work. A fully charged lithium-ion battery gives a little over 41 volts, so we had to make a very simple voltage regulator to deliver 24 volts to the lighting system. Here it is, just a simple power transistor, one resistor and one Zener diode. The power transistor is preferably of the metal case type and mounts on a piece of heatsink. It doesn't get hot, just a little warm. Just as well, of course, because heat means wasted power and we don't want to do that. Here's the tadpole with its lighting system and provision for a second lithium-ion battery. At this stage we had a couple of issues with batteries. You might think that having two batteries and two chargers to play with would make life a bit easier, but not so. It's very difficult to make objective measurements in a live situation out there on the road with your bike. So we needed to find a way of properly comparing the batteries and the chargers. Here we've set up a battery with some dummy loads. Now these dummy loads are just from my junk box collection. They're amateur radio dummy loads. In parallel they represent about 20 ohms, which is just right. That will drag the batteries down in a reasonable span of time without actually abusing them. They're far too expensive. The voltage over time was measured with a plotting multimeter connected to the USB port of a computer. Here are the dummy loads at work on a battery. The hard drive fan is to stop the dummy load from getting too hot. And here we see two near-perfect lithium-ion discharge curves. Now we can use a cheap multimeter with a big readout as a kind of fuel gauge on the bike. On the discharge curve we can see the points at which the lights on the throttle handle come on. When the battery drops to 36 volts, the amber light comes on. The controller switches to limp home mode when the battery voltage is somewhere between 34 and 35 volts. And finally, at 32 volts, the protector circuit in the battery shuts down the whole system. Several headlamps were tried for nighttime travel. In the end, Harold settled for a pair of dolphin-type torches with high-powered white LEDs. The LED assemblies were removed and mounted into PVC plumbing fittings. The headlights together draw 1 amp at 6 volts. Because they're seldom used, it was decided to power them with their own battery, which, being a dry cell, didn't add any appreciable weight to the vehicle. At the time of this video, the electric Tadpole, otherwise known as the Yellow Peril, has travelled over 4,000 kilometres without any mishap. The all-up weight of the bike, together with tools, clothing, drinks, and Harold's cigarettes, is about 45 kilograms. With no pedalling whatsoever, the Yellow Peril returns a guaranteed distance of 80 kilometres, but greater distances are possible with careful use of the throttle. It has a top speed of 27 kilometres an hour, so it's not a racing bike. What it is a great little get-about. It's comfortable, reliable, and Harold frequently does his shopping in it. And it gets in and out of places you would not believe. Parking's no problem. So there it is. That's the state of play here in Carisbrook in Australia. Keep those good ideas rolling in, watch this space. Any further developments, we'll make another YouTube. Cheers for now.
Comes out different every time.